What is Waldorf education and how did it get started? Well, it all started with this guy, Rudolf Steiner. He was a scientist, a philosopher, he was highly respected, and a well-published scholar. For Steiner, history and nature are shaped by the spirit, and each person is just a small part in a more greatly universal process. This belief, ideology, led him to develop anthroposophy, which means human wisdom. This is a spiritual science movement with its roots in Christianity. It holds that the human being is fundamentally a spiritual being and that all human beings deserve respect because of that embodiment of their spiritual nature. Now, there are two important components to anthroposophy. The first one being oneness with the world. Now, this principle encompasses the idea that everything is interconnected, from the cycles of the moon and planets, to the cycles of the seasons, to the cycles of human life, from birth to death, and that each choice we make will affect others in ways we may not foresee. Let's take global warming for an example. As we continue to use Earth's natural resources faster than Earth can replenish them, such as destroying the trees that make up the rainforest, not only are we destroying the plant and animal life there, our actions are having many other far-reaching consequences. For instance, trees serve to clean our air using carbon dioxide and producing oxygen. Well, we're seeing abundance of air pollution because there are far less trees that used to partially filter our air. And with the increased amounts of carbon dioxide in the air, that has caused our climate to change, and now we're facing global warming. Anthroposophists see the value in being aware of these things, these connections, and works toward being in harmony, in balance with nature. The second component is search for self. Steiner believed we develop, grow in 7-year cycles, from our birth to our death, which each cycle focusing on a different aspect of development. With Waldorf education, they work in the first 3 cycles of life. So why did Steiner, this well-respected scientist and philosopher, develop an educational curriculum anyways? Well, it all began in 1919 when Steiner was approached by one of his friends and fellow anthroposophist, Emil Molt. Now, Molt was a German businessman. He was the director of the Waldorf Astoria cigarette factory. He wanted to start an educational program for the children of his factory workers, so he proposed a plan to open a school, and he wanted Steiner to be the head director. Steiner loved the idea and was very enthusiastic about the plan. So using the 2 guiding principles of anthroposophy, Steiner designed a curriculum that would develop in each child his or her innate talents and abilities through weaving the lively arts like music, dance, and painting into all subject matters. Now, what it's important to note is that Steiner and Molt were social reformists. World War I had just ended, and both men wanted to create an environment in a school where students would thrive and be well educated so that they would grow up and contribute to the economic and social renewal of a country that was just devastated by war. So, in 1919, Molt and Steiner brought their plan to fruition and opened their first school together and named it Waldorf, after Molt's cigarette factory. For that first year, it was strictly a company school. Only the children of the factory workers were able to attend. However, every year after that, the doors were open to everyone, regardless of gender or social status. The main goal of Waldorf education is to develop a well-rounded individual using a 3-dimensional approach, educating the head, the heart, and the hands. So how do these 3 components work together to develop a well-rounded individual? Well, first, the head. It refers to the ability to think clearly and independently. Then you have the heart, and the heart refers to the capacity for feeling emotionally connected to one's work and to the world at large. And lastly, you have hands, which refers to the willingness to take action to achieve one's goals and to contribute to the world. So utilizing all 3 components enables a more holistic and integrated approach to learning. So how does this curriculum stand out from the rest? What makes Waldorf education unique and different? Well, the first aspect is educate the whole child. Now, I know many curriculums stress this concept, this holistic educational view. However, Steiner took it a step further by incorporating a spiritual aspect and a moral compass to his teaching. Next, you have the teacher. With a Waldorf education, the child will usually remain with the same teacher and classmates from 1st through 8th grade. So what are the benefits to the teacher and students staying together? Build strong relationships. With this approach, the students and teachers get to know each other very well. Continuity. The teacher over the years will find the best ways of helping individual children in their schooling. This ensures the kind of follow-through that will optimize each child's educational experience. Extension of family. At this age, between ages 7 and 14, children learn best through acceptance and emulation of authority. In elementary school, the children are just beginning to expand on their experiences beyond the home, and the class serves as a type of family with its own authority figure, the teacher being in a role similar to a parent. And stagnation. This is a way to keep the teacher moving forward because he or she will have to grow with the students. And it's interesting to note that this is very similar to how education was conducted in the days of the Little Red Schoolhouse. The next aspect is practical work. Now, this is just one of the many ways students in a Waldorf education perform experiential learning, which means the development of knowledge, skills, and values through direct experiences. Practical work like crafts and handiwork are part of the curriculum from kindergarten through high school. All children learn to knit in 1st grade and then crochet in 2nd and 3rd, creating colorful projects. Decades before brain research could confirm it, Steiner recognized that brain function was founded on body function. Learning to knit and crochet in early grades led to motor skills which metamorphosed into lively thinking and enhanced intellectual development later. Coordination, patience, perseverance, and imagination are also developed through practical work. Activities like baking, gardening, and woodworking give children an understanding of how things come into being and a respect for the creations of others. Next, we have the arts. Drama, painting, music, modeling, and so on are integrated into all subject matters, including math, science, and history. Education through the arts awakens imagination and creative powers, bringing vitality and wholeness to learning. No other educational method gives such a central role to the arts as does Waldorf education. Of all the arts, music is the most utilized. It permeates and harmonizes life in Waldorf education through a curriculum designed to develop the innate musical talent that every child is born with. And one element of music that is taught which is exclusive to Waldorf education is called eurythmy. Eurythmy is a performance art that makes music and speech visible. In prescribed exercises choreographed to music and poetry, eurythmy interweaves and harmonizes knowledge from academic subjects with artistic movements. For instance, each letter in the alphabet has a specific movement in eurythmy. Year by year in a Waldorf school, a eurythmy teacher creates exercises that support and stimulates the development of the growing human being. Children gradually learn the skills of using the body, developing a sense of space for themselves and other, movement, balance, and control over large and small muscle groups through exercises, patterns, and games that increase in complexity as the children grow. Ultimate, eurythmy makes for intelligent feet and hands that inform an intelligent head and a thinking heart. Another aspect that's unique to Waldorf is that there are no textbooks. Textbooks are not used in elementary grades and only very selectively in high school. Instead, the teacher creates a presentation out of his or her research and finds beautiful stories to deliver the content. From the information learned through the presentations, students make their own textbooks from each subject, recording and illustrating the substance of their lessons. These are known as main lessons books, often artistic and beautiful, and are another way that art is integrated into every subject. Now, what is important to note about these main lessons is that there are 2-hour-long periods in which the main academic work of the day is presented. Now, the selected subject is taught in a comprehensive 3 to 4 week block, allowing for a concentrated, in-depth experience that gives children time to digest what has been learned. Steiner believed it's more important to teach children to learn and think for themselves than to teach children facts and book knowledge. And lastly, language and literacy. Waldorf education follows a natural course when it comes to language and literacy. First, students perceive the world around them. Then they can picture it and speak about it. And out of those pictures and sounds, they further explore understanding through written signs and symbols. So from stories to pictures, writing precedes reading. It's not unusual for a Waldorf student to begin to read in grades 3 or 4, which is much later than a typical public school student who usually starts in kindergarten. Rich literacy experiences through songs, stories, and poetry create a strong foundation of language, imagery, and comprehension that will serve Waldorf students well when the time is right. So, can Waldorf education be replicated in public schools? Well, according to the Association of Waldorf Schools of North America, public schools can never be a bona fide Waldorf school because its teachers and administrators would not have the freedom to work out of the view of the spiritual nature of the human being, which is the essence of Waldorf education. However, it does recognize that some of the methods of Waldorf education could be applied in many different public school settings. So how is the Waldorf methodology replicated in public schools? Well, the movement began in the 1990s when several states in the U.S. adopted charter school programs, whereby an independent group of parents and administrators may set up a publicly funded charter school which would have a certain degree of independence in the terms of setting a curriculum and educational philosophy. So, as a result, several Waldorf-inspired school programs have been established in the U.S. Currently, there are about 44 Waldorf-inspired public schools from Alaska to Wisconsin, and most of them are K through 8 charter school. Now, even though they cannot fully commit to the ideology behind Waldorf education due to the restrictions on promoting or practicing religion in public schools, these schools retain certain aspects of the Waldorf methodology, such as main lesson blocks, having the same teacher through grades 1st through 8th, and integrating the arts throughout the curriculum. Celebrating 100 years. On September 19th of this year, Waldorf education proudly marked its 100th anniversary. And here are some of the ways that many of the Waldorf schools celebrated this momentous occasion. So the final takeaway. Waldorf education contrasts with reality today, in which children are often rushed through their childhood to help them become the best and the brightest. Many embrace the ideals of Waldorf education because of its simplicity. The curriculum is easily modified to accommodate multicultural points of view without compromising the basic philosophy. In this time of technology, busy schedules, and competition, there is a growing sense of disconnectedness. Now, Waldorf education strives to eliminate this by allowing us to focus on what is important, to remember where we come from and what life is all about. It's about taking the time to smell the roses and to appreciate who we are as individuals, learning what we can do, and recognizing the spirit within us. Thank you.